Stop me if you've heard this before, but somebody out there isn't pleased with the coaching decisions at UGA. It's a tough week for you right now because somebody's not going anywhere, and you need to learn to like it next. Locked on Bulldogs.
You are Locked on Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Locked on Bulldogs podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. He is Clint. I'm Daniel. Today's episode brought to you by the fine folks over at FanDuel, FanDuel.com, where you can make every moment more. More on them in a second. But, Clint, it's Friday, and maybe you're listening to this on Saturday. Maybe you're getting ready to watch Mike White and the boys take on Vanderbilt. Ooh. Maybe you're heading down to Athens Town for senior night. Yeah. It is the end of another week, and we're so grateful that you have chosen to spend a little time with us. Thanks for being an everyday, or if you're here every day, you know we're here every day, and so you could be here every day too. And thanks for being a first listener. If you make us your first listener of every day, we appreciate that. Of course, if you're part of the 199, the loyal third segment listeners, you already know how we feel about you, so there's no need to belabor that point. Today we're talking about Mike Bobo, Clint. So I don't think anybody cares. I don't think anybody has any opinions. I'm not sure that any of our banter will be controversial at all. No one will disagree with us. If you do disagree with us, the best way to let us know is just to leave a comment right under the YouTube. We would type that bad boy out. If you disagree with the people who disagree with us, the best way to let us know that is to respond to their comment, which they have already typed out underneath here, underneath the YouTube. And if you're listening on audio, just sit back and relax and let us talk to you about the fact that Mike Bobo received a contract extension this week. Georgia's offensive coordinator took over, obviously, you all know, for Todd Monken when Todd Monken went off to the NFL to the Baltimore Ravens. And I would fairly say he has had some mixed results as the University of Georgia offensive coordinator. I think in the couple of seasons that we have had him, some areas have been better than others. Some started out pretty good in his first year, had a bit of a drop off in this most recent season, some vice versa. And so it has been a bit of a mixed bag. And that's why you've got so many people who are up in arms about Mike Bobo. Let the record show that I don't think either of us come from a place that says there's no sensible person who does not want Mike Bobo to be the offensive coordinator at Georgia. We don't believe, at least I don't, Clint, that's the only opinion you must have is that Mike Bobo is fine and he's not the problem and he's we're probably going to argue both sides of this today.
Yes, sir.
Because two things, or in this case, many things can be true at the same time. Mike Bobo's had some things that he's done really well. He's had some great success. And he has struggled. Some of the struggles have been his fault. Some have not. Some of the successes have been his doing. Some have not. And so I think there are a lot of different ways that you can feel. We're going to try to cover some of the things that we've noticed about the Georgia offense under Mike Bobo. But first, Clint, let's just get the nuts and bolts. Let's get the lay of the land on what exactly this contract extension is in case people have not heard.
This is what happens. Mike Bobo goes till 2026 on the contract extension, going up from $1.4 million to $1.5 million. And then 2026 having $1.6 million. So gets that $100K boost every single year until 2026, in which his contract is no longer extended after that. Mike Bobo remains a consistent force at UGA. And will be as long as Gunnar Stockton is at Georgia. Put it that way. As long as Gunnar Stockton is here,
there we go.
Mike Bobo's the offensive coordinator. As long as Ryan Puglisi is here, it seems to me there's a shot of Mike Bobo being his offensive coordinator. After that, who knows? Maybe another extension, maybe somebody else. But that's the framework in which we want to talk about. He gets that pay bump, like every other coach as well gets that pay bump under Kirby Smart that sticks around, or when you go elsewhere and get that pay bump. Daniel, that's the nuts and bolts.
Mm-hmm.
This is a simple, to me, that's a simple conversation to begin. Whether you hate Mike Bobo or not. Okay, I don't.
Let's get everyone on the same page here, and then we'll get into the stats. We'll get into the analytics. We'll talk about the Georgia offense under Mike Bobo. All of that is coming. Let's get everybody on the same page here to begin with.
Okay. Mike Bobo is your offensive coordinator until 2026. Just period. If you want to say good job, Mike Bobo, what you're saying is good job, Kirby Smart. If you want to say Mike Bobo is the worst offensive coordinator that we could possibly have, what you are saying is that Kirby Smart is a moron and doesn't know how to coach. That's what you're saying. Now, again, we will hit both sides on where Mike Bobo has gone great, where he's gone wrong. I actually think he's probably he overthinks in too much of the time. He does not see what's happening on the field and his players and trust them. I think he needs to trust them more. I think he overcomplicates things much of the time, which is wild because many of you are just thinking of the third and long draws that are always there or the same screens all the time. I'm going to try to argue that when he's flowing, that's when he's best. But Kirby Smart, just like you didn't think Stetson Bennett was the best quarterback option we had, and Kirby Smart did, you might not think Mike Bobo is the best option, but Kirby Smart does. You cannot; those two things cannot exist in the same stratosphere. You cannot say, "I trust Kirby Smart; he's the best head coach in college football," comma Mike Bobo is the worst offensive coordinator. Those two are incompatible with each other, Daniel.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to take it maybe a step further and say, like Georgia's got some people on the line, like you think about Jared Curtis, 2026 quarterback out of Nashville.
That's interesting.
You think about the 2025 quarterback class, obviously a battle between Georgia and Oregon for Montgomery not Montgomery.
That's Curtis.
Yeah. No, that's 2026. 2020. That's 2026. Yeah, that's my bad. Yeah. 2026, Curtis, battle between Georgia and Oregon. You're looking at an extension for Mike Bobo, which adds one more year to his contract. Guys, let me just be totally clear here.
Go ahead.
If Georgia wants to fire Mike Bobo after this season, they will fire Mike Bobo after this season.
That's unique.
They'll just buy the contract out. They don't care. It's 1 year. They'll just buy it out. If Georgia wanted to keep Mike Bobo for 10 more years,
what would they do?
They would still just re-up his contract a year at a time. You have to stay in front of recruits with these contracts. Like, whether you like Mike Bobo or not, Mike Bobo is out there recruiting guys. He's out there recruiting Ryan Puglisi. He's out there recruiting Gunnar Stockton. He's out there recruiting Jared Curtis. He's out there recruiting Montgomery in this most recent class who I mentioned. Like, that's the guy. You've got to have a face of your offense. Like, you can't just have a lame duck offensive coordinator. This contract extension, if you love Mike Bobo, means nothing.
It means nothing.
This contract extension, if you hate Mike Bobo, also means nothing. So people are getting really worked up because they see extension. They see like he's around for longer. We're extending that. Like, please tell me Georgia doesn't have enough funds in the old checking account to let Mike Bobo walk if and when the coaching staff deems that he's not the best option at offensive coordinator right now. Like, these extensions, these contracts are for, yes, it's nice for the Bobo family. It's nice for these coaches. They're for recruits, Clint. Like, they are for these future recruits so that other schools can't come in and say, I mean, if you're going to commit to Georgia, who knows? who's going to be your offensive coordinator. Who knows what the system is going to look like? Maybe things change drastically, and all of a sudden you're stuck in a bad situation and you can't get out of it. That's what
not
this
happening right now. This is guaranteed success for security for this coming year, and following that up because recruiting still matters. It is still important. Bizarre. The transfer portal doesn't win championships unless you give $40 million in debt. So which one do you want? Do you want $100,000 to shore up a Curtis commit that if he does come, he knows who his OC is going to be and build off of that?
Yeah.
Or are you going to waste $40 million like Ohio State did? We're going to come back after this. We're going to talk about the implications. Is this good? Is this bad? Are there better offensive coordinator positions, coaches out there? But first, these. And these are, in fact, FanDuel. FanDuel's fantastic. Daniel and I love them. You need to love them as well because I don't know if you know this, but there's going to be a few days consecutively, back to back to back, a few weekends that are going to be back to back to back, in which you can go ahead and get in on the action and bet.
And bet on Georgia to win
guys,
a game because they'll be playing in the game.
They'll be in the tournament, like we told you way back yonder. FanDuel is the official sportsbook of Locked On Bulldogs, Locked On Podcast. Right now, $150 into your account of bonus bets when you place a $5 wager and win. $150 bonus bet straight to you, $5 win. Right now, FanDuel.com, the official sportsbook of Locked On Bulldogs, Locked On Podcast, everywhere. Get in the action.
All right, Clint, let's talk about Mike Bobo, the offensive coordinator.
Sure.
What do you see when you look at Georgia's offense here?
Here's my simple question to you. I'm going to go back just to last year and just ask a yes or a no style question. I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible.
Let's do that.
We have been called many names. Okay.
Absolutely.
Overly intelligent is
people have referred to me as SEC pretty. I don't even know what that means, but people have said it about me.
First of all,
frequently.
I don't think people are saying that. Stop trying to make it a thing.
I don't know. I'm hearing it.
I didn't say you weren't hearing it. Okay. Please. Secondly, we're not overly intellectual. That is not, not once been claimed to be too smart. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's
yes or no? You ask, I'll answer, Clint. Just some yes or no's.
Was last year's offense up to par with our expectations of Georgia offense?
No.
Crete. Oh, no. So much. Was last
1 for 1.
Last year's offense, was it a unit by which we would want to come into this year with?
Well, since it's not up to our expectations of what an offense at Georgia should be, then no. I'm going to say no.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, great. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Did we make the college football playoff last year, Daniel?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. Were we top 15 in offensive efficiency and rushing, which we were 14th statistically in the SEC, as well as passing, as well as points scored? Yes, the answer is yes to that. We had a down year. It's not up to par. We wouldn't go into this year with it. We had injuries galore, and yet everybody looking at Mike Bobo and saying, how dare you? You pathetic excuse for a coach. No, this is my favorite line. My favorite is, well, no one else would hire him. No one else would hire him, and people are making fun of us.
That is true. People are making fun of us. People made fun of us when we had Stetson Bennett as our quarterback.
There it is.
People make fun of people, like when you bullies in school pick on smart kids.
They do.
You understand? So people, yes, Auburn fans are making fun of us.
Sure. Who's their head coach?
They're also Auburn. They're okay. Bruce Pearl ain't walking through those doors. That football program ain't going nowhere.
Nowhere.
Okay? So, yes, people are making fun of us. I don't know that that's a basis for firing a coordinator. I'm not sure. I'm glad Kirby's not making his decisions based on that. I'll just say
Kirby does not have any access to any social media accounts. He doesn't care. And even if he did,
Lord.
Yeah, praise the Lord. But the point is, when we talk about Mike Bobo, the offensive coordinator, he had a coordinator terms. He made lemonade out of lemons, Daniel, with a deficient, defunct quarterback who was interception prone, wide receivers who couldn't catch, offensive line who couldn't block, running backs who didn't get lanes open. He still manufactured and cobbled together an offense that worked well. It's not his fault that injuries and a regression happened in the mind of a kid who likes his Lamborghini without a tracking device more than anything else. That's not his fault. There's fault that he had. And you and I talked about that at large. But I just want to start first with saying, don't play the game of power rankings the best offensive coordinators in college football. Please don't do that. That is a stupid, silly game. And a game that is in a made-up fantasy land. It's like having the best house in Minecraft. That's what you're telling me. You've just said, well, you should see what I can do on creative mode. It's fantastic out there. Okay.
We're throwing on a lot of Minecraft terminology in segment 2 today. It must be a Friday.
It's not the third segment.
It's a Friday. We're already in.
We already look happy hour.
It's really somewhere. 3 segment 2s or 3 segment 3s on a Friday. You know, like
we got SEC pretty.
The banter, the banter is flowing. Like everything is going great. Yeah. I don't have any discrepancy, anything contradictory to say to any of those points, Clint, because I think you're absolutely right. It's also not Mike Bobo's fault that the wide receivers couldn't catch. Literally. Now, recruiting is the whole staff's fault. And the fact that there wasn't a decent wide receiver on that roster, these are fireable offenses in my mind. So if you're going to be like, hey, let's start cleaning some offensive staff's house, like I get it, because getting players on campus is the offensive staff's fault, and he is the boss he's the captain of the offensive staff. And so you can certainly pass that buck, but those receivers were awful. I am going to get into, when we come back for the third segment, I am going to get into some things that some honest truth about Mike Bobo. And then you and I give our kind of ultimate final conclusion about where we think this program is going under Mike Bobo. How optimistic or pessimistic should one be about him as our offensive coordinator? But first, we'll be right back after these.
And these are, in fact, Nissan. Daniel, Nissan's fantastic, and you need to get over there right now and check them out. We're all about the stats because numbers don't lie. And when it comes to all new Nissan Armada Pro 4X, the numbers are on an MVP level. The ability to tow up to 8,500 pounds is quite literally carry the whole team, plus the gear wherever you go. It's powered by twin turbo V6 engine, deliver the strength and performance to handle highways, back roads, and everything in between. And with room up to 8 people, the Armada Pro 4X is built for big crews, big adventures, even bigger memories. Whether you're exploring off-road trails or rolling up to the arena, the Armada Pro 4X brings power, versatility, and style wherever you go. Take the adventures to new heights. The all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X. Learn more, nissanusa.com.
All right, well, Clint, Georgia offensively last year, we mentioned not up to standard.
No.
And here's the thing. We did make the college football playoff. We did win the SEC. We made the college football playoff as a high seed. Got the bye. Didn't matter. Didn't do anything for us.
Nope.
I want to list off some. When you think about Georgia,
okay,
offensively, give me a number nationally that's like the floor for you, right? We would love it if Georgia had the number 1 offense in college football. But Georgia's not just an offense. They're an offense and a defense. And so we could settle for Georgia being the what? Give me a number.
This is going to piss every Georgia fan off. But how I'm making my rankings on this is my only care. I don't know if this is going to. My only concern is winning national championships.
Okay.
That's it. Okay. Of those national championship winning teams, Daniel, it's top 25.
Top 25.
Okay. If we're a top 25
top 25 offense. Just by the way, on defense, what's your number?
Oh, we got to be the floor, and this is why I think I had so much consternation last year, if I'm being honest with you. The floor is top 5 defense
Top 5
for me.
Top 25 on offense.
Yeah.
This is our identity. This is who Georgia is. You can disagree. You might want Georgia to turn, into like more of a high, like a, an Oregon type, Ohio State type team who have good defenses, but they're built around their offenses for sure.
Yeah.
You can win championships that way. We have seen it.
Yeah.
Georgia has not, but I'm going to go off of what you said. I don't want to do what I said. I want to tell you based on what you said. Let me list off some categories, statistical categories. Third segment on Friday, guys.
It's the third
segment on Friday. Okay. Statistical categories where Georgia finished outside of the top 25 nationally on offense.
I love this.
Okay. You ready?
I am.
Points per game, 37th. Yards per game, 50th. Points per play, 41st. Yards per play, 51st. Third down conversion, 75th. Red zone scoring, 30th. Rushing yards per rush, 84th.
Yep.
Rushing yards per game, 102nd.
It's disgusting.
Completion percentage, 31st. Yards per pass, 49th. Passing yards per game, we were inside the top 25. Interception percentage thrown, 69th. Quarterback sack percentage, 37th. Okay. Those are just a handful of offensive statistical categories, but I might argue pretty much all the important ones.
All the important ones. And if we're looking, again, just that the one thing, this whole segment is basically why Bobo should be fired. Like, if we could name a segment.
He's culpable for these things. Like, I just listed to you an offense that we agreed a moment ago was completely unacceptable. Outside the top 25 for an offense at Georgia is like gross. It's gross misconduct.
It is.
It should not happen. The players are there. The dudes are in the building.
Top 3 recruiting cycles every single year.
Yeah, and then we get transfers like Trevor Etienne.
Yeah,
like we've got difference makers coming into the program. But again, I just read off to you basically everything that matters. Like, I'm going to scroll through this list. Fourth down conversion percentage. Georgia was 19th.
Cool.
And passing yards per game, Georgia was 14th. Those are the only two offensive major statistical categories in which Georgia finished inside the top 25. Outside the top 25, and on many of those, Clint, it was outside the top 40, outside the top 50. Like, it was not a good offense, and the buck has to stop somewhere. And somebody's got to be held responsible for that. I'm not saying after just like 1 year. No. Because the offense last year was actually, or the offense 2 years ago was actually a lot better than it was last year. But I do think, as I mentioned in the first segment, Clint, if the offense this year looks like the offense did last year, Georgia might still make the college football playoff. Because
if our defense is better,
position group by position group, Clint.
Yeah, let's
and that defense is going to look,
guys.
But if the offense does what it did last year, I'm here to tell you, it's going to be hard to fire a coordinator when you make the college football playoff. That is the facts. It is an end game situation, and if Georgia achieves the college football playoff, it's going to be very hard to let a coordinator go. But I'm here to tell you, if this Georgia offense performs like last year's Georgia offense, like, the man should be let go. The man should absolutely be fired because the numbers I just read you are gross. They're gross.
Comment section. Like, we're both saying the same thing. I'm impressed that we had that many points per game with that putrid of an offense. The 4 biggest ones to me: rushing yards per attempt, rushing yards per game, third down and red zone, which we were gross in. Those are the 4 that I care most about. Honest to goodness.
Third down, we were 75th in the country in third down conversions.
That means we're behind the chains on everything. Low percentage chance of converting on third down. Very, very bad situational offense. That's what that indicates to me.
Yeah.
And that you could talk about drop
that ain't
passes.
interceptions. That ain't interceptions, guys.
Thank
That's
you.
Mike
It's not
Bobo.
interceptions.
Yeah.
That's Mike Bobo. And that's why I think he overcomplicates things at time. He doesn't understand who he has out there. Now, last year, he was trying way too hard to overcompensate for a defunct roster on offense.
A man that didn't have it in the brain either. Like a man who was completely gone mentally in Carson Beck. Like
the
he
two
was
quarterbacks that were
rattled.
laughing with each other as they were getting beat are no longer on the roster. Okay. Sometimes when you see something,
make of it what you will.
You make of it what you will. I think this year's offense, we talked about the offensive line getting totally refreshed. We talked about wide receivers, best wide receiver room that I've ever seen at Georgia in a composite. Gunnar Stockton, who has his head on at minimum. We're going to see if he can go a whole season passing it, or Puglisi.
We're going to see.
We're going to see. Okay. But this is a fork in the road for Mike Bobo. Guys,
I'm here to tell you guys. I'm here to tell you.
If we
make the college football playoff and the offense sucks like I just read about, I'm going to think Mike Bobo should be fired. I mean, to be honest, there were times this offseason, when I thought Mike Bobo, I waffled. I went back and forth.
Georgia Tech game before the overtimes, I wanted a pink slip immediately.
I won't be waffling next year if the Georgia offense looks like that. But I'm here to tell you, if we make the college football playoff,
what's going to happen?
He ain't going anywhere, which I believe is an indicator that inside the football program, some metrics and some standards need to be changed. Because for this Georgia team, we're not Alabama, guys. Making the college football playoff is not a success for us anymore. Okay. Like, we're not a team like Tennessee who's going to celebrate and print coffee table books because they made the college football playoff. That ain't what we're trying to do.
Nope.
Making the college football playoff should be like a 4 out of every 5 years minimum. Yep. We should be doing that. 4 out of 5 if this playoff is at 12 or larger. Advancing in the college football playoff, competing for championships. And let me just be totally frank with you.
Please do.
That Georgia team that we watched last year, at no point during that season, at no point was that team capable of competing for a championship.
Nope.
None. And so if I see that again from the offense, yes, absolutely. Now, based on what I saw in 2023, I'm not mad that he's coming back again in 2025. I do think the roster is in a better place offensively than it was in 2024, albeit new quarterback, new offensive line. There's new wide receivers. I do think the offense is in a better place than it was.
Yeah.
If I see numbers outside the top 50, Clint, I can't do it.
He is SEC Pretty. I am Clint. We'll be back next week talking all them Bulldogs and getting ready for March
Madness, because we're going to be in the dance, y'all.
We're going to be in the dance. We'll see y'all then. Have a good one. Enjoy the weekend. See you guys then.
See ya.